All right, guys. So in this video, I got a special guest, Mike here. Actually, he took my YouTube ads course, generated 7 figures with e-commerce. And we want to dive into a story. So basically, Mike joined my course, I don't know, like 5 or 6 months ago. And he was kind of figuring out YouTube ads, was kind of stuck at, around 30K a month. And then he took the info in my course, applied it, like took crazy action. Every single day he would ask questions. And now he's at like 330K a month, done like, I don't know, like over $1 million this year, like $1.5 million. So Mike, welcome. And, thanks for being on here.
Hey, thank you so much, man. Absolutely glad to be on the call. And most importantly, thank you so much for giving the value, right? I just thought it would be great to reciprocate because your course, forums, Facebook groups give me so much value. They've gotten so many results that I almost feel bad for not being a part of the agency, for not being one of your clients, right? So doing something like this, I'm like, no question. Definitely glad to help in any way that I can. Just speak the truth where I'm at. So thank you, man.
Awesome. So do you want to tell us a bit about where you were at with YouTube, let's say maybe like 5 or 6 months ago?
Yeah, 100%. So 5 or 6 months ago, I really struck a pain point because when it came to my personal e-commerce brands, I was running them primarily on Facebook, right? Facebook ads. And it's doing very well until out of nowhere, Facebook just indiscriminately banned my account, right? So I went from days where I'm making all these revenue, 5 figures a day in certain points, to 0, right? And it really frustrated me because it happened so many times in the past. So it motivated me to want to learn a different advertising platform. I didn't want to just go through the ringer, let me find another Facebook account, do this or that, because the same things would have happened in the future. And it's a very white hat products that I promote, right? But anyways, I went to YouTube and I started just toying around with the platform. There was a separate course that I got from somebody who really wasn't that well versed in YouTube. So I decided to just take the information that I did, and I started seeing some initial results. It wasn't nearly as profitable as was what I usually saw. Probably over the course of the first month that I was doing YouTube, I hit around 30K, 30,000 in revenue, right? And then I stumbled across I don't forget how I stumbled across it. I stumbled across your YouTube channel. It must have been your YouTube channel when I was looking up information, right? So I stumbled across your YouTube channel, and then I decided to get your course because I like the YouTube information that you were giving out, right? And that's usually my barometer. I usually won't get a course if I don't like the person's information to begin with, right? So I decided to just delve deep into it, right? Really just wanted to go all in and master and really learn this platform. And throughout this process, man, throughout these last 5 months, I can say it's been incredibly favorable for me, where I've gone from like around $30,000. Oh, sorry, let me cut that off. I went from around 30,000 on the platform to over 300,000 per month consistently on the YouTube platform, where right now I'm looking at my numbers. I've done over 1.5 million in revenue this year over the last 6 months on the YouTube platform. And that's from 30,000 my first month here, and not even being that profitable, right? Just kind of getting by, kind of thinking about, maybe I should get back into the Facebook to see if it would be good to go, to actually learning the framework and doing very well for myself. So yeah, it's been very profitable and very, very fulfilling for me as well.
That is awesome. And basically, with what you're selling, right? You're selling e-commerce products with YouTube ads.
Exactly. E-commerce physical products on YouTube ads. So they're not like courses. They're not $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 courses. They're physical products that one would easily see on a Facebook ad, but structured a little bit differently because it is a different platform.
Got it. And what was the biggest struggle when you were starting out with YouTube ads for e-commerce? What were some of the issues you ran into?
Absolutely. So some of the biggest issues that I ran into starting out was the structure of how to set up a campaign, because I took my skill sets that I had from Facebook and tried to transfer it to YouTube. And those, just because you're really good at one platform doesn't mean that you'll automatically have the same skill level entering another platform, right? I realized that it's a completely different language. Like YouTube ads is so much more complicated. Google ads is so much more complicated than Facebook, that if you go in blind, like I did, virtually speaking, then you're going to be in for a hurting, right? And so the biggest thing for me is not having really a structure, how to set up a proper campaign, right? Because there's so many different campaigns that you can do. You can do keywords, you can do audiences, you can do placements, you can do demographics, as extensions. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, right? So I didn't know exactly where to go, right? But your course really gave me that structure of how to set up a proper campaign from the get-go, so you won't go in blind, right? By far and away, that was the biggest thing that helped me out. Definitely more things as well, but that's number one.
Got it. So just having like a clear structure, knowing that, okay, for this type of campaign, you want to structure it like this. For placements, you want to do it like this, kind of like a step-by-step instruction guide. And in terms of kind of the side of, let's say, um, audiences, right? What has been the best audience type for you?
Yeah,
Like,
besides audiences, I would say keywords. Keywords the have been some of my favorite types of campaign structures. Actually, at first, keywords were far and away my favorite, right? However, until I went into your course, I realized the value of audiences, and that's actually taken my results to another level, right? So those are definitely my favorites, and also placements. Like, I thought placements sucked, honestly, before I went into your course and went into your calls and realized what I was doing wrong exactly. Now I realize that placements can be just as powerful an amount of a strategy as just about any other campaign, right? So I found a lot of success in a lot of different platforms. Keywords, definitely one of my top ones. Audiences have been actually my number one, but keywords got it going, but audiences afterwards have really helped blow it up to the next level as well. And keep it even
got
more.
it.
Yep.
That's very, very cool. Yeah, and I mean, that's definitely something we've noticed with like e-commerce brands, is that kind of the things that work are slightly different than what work with info clients. Like we've noticed with e-commerce, sometimes in-market audiences can work super well. So it's like a little different than info, but we usually find there's like a big overlap in terms of what works. And what about creatives? How's that been going for you? What have you been doing for creatives? How have you been solving this challenge that is like e-commerce video ads, right? Because it's like people are like, oh, it's too hard to make video ads on YouTube. If you know, it's so much easier to do Facebook ads for e-commerce. People don't even think e-commerce with YouTube can work. Like I literally see that all the time. YouTube ads with e-commerce doesn't work, impossible.
Dude, that's and I used to think that as well, right? At least to some degree, but I always kept something in my mindset that said, this is a huge freaking platform. There's got to be a way, right? But I definitely had to make a switch in how I do my marketing when I do my creatives, right? Because on a lot of Facebook physical product e-commerce campaigns, you'll have the product, you'll have different slides every 3 to 5 seconds, right? It'll have the captions outline the benefits, right? But the biggest thing for me is that when I tried to transfer, like, say, for example, the exact creatives from the way that I would do it on Facebook and transfer it and just plaster it onto YouTube, it's not that it wouldn't work at all, but it's really not. But the results that you'll get from it are worse than what you'll get from Facebook. So it's definitely nothing to phone home about, right? However, what made the hugest difference for me is simply adding voiceovers to all of my video creatives. it's so fascinating, it's so counterintuitive, because you're thinking like, my goodness, like, why would voiceovers be the difference? Like, I don't need voiceovers for Facebook ads. Why do I need them for YouTube ads? You know what I mean? But I still can't tell you exactly why. I can just tell you that if you add voiceovers to your video creatives on YouTube, you'll get a much higher CTR, right? Which will lead to much higher conversions, right? Because people, I guess it's a more personable feel. And not only that, I'm now adding those voiceovers to my Facebook creatives, my Facebook campaign, because I just feel that it will just lead to a better experience now, right? It's not that I need a paid actor per se. However, I am now actually creating some marketing to get a paid actor and whatnot for one of my products. But if you just get a professional voiceover for your campaigns that can really like step by step talk about the main benefits, so it really grips the consumer who's viewing the ad, then it makes a huge difference as well. It makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the things in my course I go over is like, how do you set up voiceover video ads? And then how do you even do full production? But the voiceover ads are so easy and cheap. Like I literally have a video in the course that's like, how do you do like cheap voiceover ads that cost like $150 at most, like with the voiceover, with editing, with everything.
Right.
And yeah, we've seen that. And my theory is this, right? Like on Facebook, most people, they scroll through their feed and it's on autoplay. Obviously, like the videos are usually on autoplay, but usually the sound is off. On YouTube, that ad shows up in front of you, the sound is on, right? And if
Right.
there's no sound, if there's no music, if there's like, or if there's just background music, it kind of feels
Right.
weird because yeah, like you're just used on YouTube to have like people guiding you through stuff, right? Like you either have an actor on the screen, or even if you don't have that, right? Like if you're watching a video, you'll have somebody kind of guiding you through it. And we found that guiding voice or that guiding person just plays such a huge role in cracking YouTube ads. And yeah, I agree, absolutely, 100%. Like I think cracking YouTube ads, it goes down half to like just like experimenting with different things, doing these voiceovers. And one thing I'm really excited about you is that now you're gonna do some more production, like like proper, like get an actor and like increase the production
Right.
quality. Because what we actually saw that was that like while the voiceover ads did pretty well, we saw that when you add like a higher level of production to it, like it takes that CTR and takes it to the next level. So it's like I'm super excited to see where you go with that.
That's a fascinating point that you make. You know what I mean? And that's something that excites me, because I still have partly a Facebook mindset that's like, okay, sometimes I get some of my highest performing CTRs just by, using my iPhone and, just posting the product, right? And you would think like, okay, let's just have that organic approach to work on YouTube, right? Not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case, right? Not in the same way, right? So the way you say that, it just makes me more excited to test it on the platform. And I'm really excited to see how it increases the entire customer experience from start to finish, right? So it's been incredibly powerful for me. So that's great advice. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the video comes back and how that performs. Really excited for that.
Yeah, that's something that I want to see what happens. I think you'll just blow up to the next level. So in terms of like basically a lot of people, right? They're let's say they own an e-com brand, or maybe they want to do drop shipping. What would you tell them if they're on the fence about YouTube ads? Like, would you advise them to go with Facebook first, or would you tell them to drive straight into YouTube? What kind of advice would you give to people?
My goodness, I would advise them. That's such a great question. Honestly, that's such a great question. I wouldn't say one or the other, but I would definitely say whatever ad platform that you use, you got to make sure you master it. If you like, you can't go in and dabble on any of these platforms or any type of business and expect it to work. That's a mentality that so many drop shippers have. They just get in there because they just want to make money fast. They want to find out the easiest, the quickest, the simplest way that they can do it the least amount of time. And I tell them, if you want to get in with that mind frame, you not pass go on anything, because you're probably not going to get a lot of results in the first place, right? However, with that said, if they do have the mind frame where they're going to go into e-commerce or drop shipping or whatever, like full time, and they're all into it, then I would say that YouTube is blue ocean. Honestly, I would say that YouTube is blue ocean because there's not as many marketers or e-commerce brands, physical products brands on the platform right now. So getting such lower cost per click CPMs on the platform. So when it comes to not only the front end, but also the back end, because I'm acquiring leads at a much cheaper rate, that the rewards are, I think that the rewards are potentially even higher long term because there's more longevity in on balance, there's more longevity per YouTube account, per Google account that you have than you have per Facebook account. I don't know if that's going to be the case in the future, if Facebook cleans up their act. But not only that, it's just you're reaching a different type of demographic, right, on YouTube. You're reaching for people that are actively searching for topics that you're looking to market in. So I think it's definitely not one or the other. I think, hey, use both, but I say, like, hey, if you want to start out with YouTube, it's a blue ocean. It's more complicated, but hey, once you learn it, the rewards are there. And I'll probably direct them to your course because that'll cut the learning curve by months, years. My gosh. Oh.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm really happy you got a good ROI out of that course.
100. Oh my gosh, you kidding me, dude? Like, what is the ROI of that? Couldn't even tell
I
you.
know,
Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Probably millions. Yeah, especially when you take it on to the future. Like, literally, I'm not even just saying it just to say it. I wouldn't be on this call just to say that. You know what I mean? I haven't seen any other course that offers the type of value you have. And actually, as of this video, as of right now, I'm surprised that you have the amount of subscribers you do. I think you should have like 20, 50 times more subscribers at least. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
I'm working on it. Everybody's
100.
still searching for Facebook ads. Everybody's still like, how do I
Yeah,
do Facebook ads on YouTube?
exactly, right? So the people who's looking at doing something a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
they'll reap the most possible rewards so long as they're willing to put in the work. They gotta get the right strategy, like what you have on offer, but then they have to do the work. If they don't do the work, nothing works.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, so in terms of like e-commerce products on YouTube, is there a certain average order value that you consider kind of like a minimum or a certain margin? What, like when you're basically, what's your criteria for choosing, like a kind of a product to sell on YouTube?
Yeah, 100%. So before I go into this answer, I don't want to try to position myself as the expert on how to pick the proper product for YouTube e-commerce ads. I can only tell you what works for me based off my ad spend, my experience, spending about $500,000 on the platform at this time. So I definitely have a bit of experience into it, right? However, what I will say is, as of right now, I've had success in marketing products at around $120. I've had success in marketing products for $180, about $200. And I've also had success in marketing products for $30, right? With that said, those ones you got to make sure that you're more advanced in your marketing and your back end to make sure that you get those back end profits. And I'll say the same for Facebook as well for a lower ticket, for a super low ticket, right? But I definitely want to look for margin. Like, say, for example, if I have a product for $10, I want to sell it for at least $30 or $40, right? For me to want to be able to drive the profits up long term, right? Because when you go up, I definitely found it is true on this platform as it is on Facebook, right? As you're scaling up, the average CPA tends to go up a little bit as well. Not by a crazy amount, but by a little bit. Enough so that if you have slim margins, like 20%, 15% margins at only a few $100s a day in ad spend, a lot of that may evaporate if you're going like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a day, right? So make sure that you got a good, healthy amount of margins in there. I don't do things like free plus shipping or any super low ticket items there. Not to say that that's not possible, but I think that on average, you can create high enough value in your marketing to not need to go that low price point, right? Especially with voiceover, that helps out a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with that. I would say like for us, what we've seen is like we have one client we work with that they have a AOV that's like $40-ish, but their conversion rate on their landing pages is like 4%. Like,
Mm,
so it's like you really need to be kind of understand your business model, and you really want to like, I would say, like, if you're starting out with drop shipping, right, like as soon as you can move into branded, right, like you find a product that's doing super well, you start figuring out ways to make it more efficient, make it branded, improve the product, and really build something around it where you have a back end, you have upsells, you have recurrings, because ultimately, like, in the info product or e-commerce game, it's all about having like a really robust business that has a solid backend, and that where you can just spend more to acquire a customer than your competitors. Like that's just what it is. Like, and I think that's something that a lot of beginners lack and a lot of intermediates also lack. That's where the experts are, right? Like you look at the huge companies, right? You look at Agora, you look at Organifi,
right.
they're just so tuned in and optimized, and they just have such deep backends that they just spend so much, and they're cool with it because they're just have their profits on the back end. And that's something we as well, like at Linx, like at our agency, like, we really value. One thing that we've done, for example, like for example, we have a course that we sell in Brazil, and it's basically a make money online course. And what we've been doing is, we launched the course in like July, very early July. And basically it was a test run. We didn't even have the course finished. Our business partner for it, he's like, he basically was making it video by video as we started selling it. Ran it for like a month and a half. We're, spending like 600, 700 a day, making like 2,000 back. Like, I
Sure.
think we're like at 2.5x ROAS. So we're doing good, but we just realized that, okay, refunds are coming in. We need to
Right.
fix some things with the course. We need to change to a different payment processor because the first one had some issues and we basically had to like do all these things where now we're like, okay, we added phone sales when people abandon cart. We've reduced like the payment processing fees. We've redone the first part of the course to reduce refunds. We've added a student success kind of thing. So instead of just being like, oh yeah, we're getting a decent return and now we just want to get kind of, buzz along, we're just like, all right, let's hit pause for a second, because these refund rates are like a liability right now. Let's improve everything, let's increase our margins, and now we're going to add a downsell, we're going to redo the webinar. So that's the kind of stuff you want to be doing, right? Like you can't, and the funny part is like the amount of time you spend on ads, once you learn YouTube ads, right, like once you actually kind of understand the platform and you've gone through like the YouTube ads stuff, after that point YouTube ads becomes pretty easy, right? Because literally like the amount of time we spend media buying on that project was pretty minimal, because our senior media buyer, Raf, he basically is like such a pro at it, right? Like he's been on the student calls. He's literally like, all right, set up the campaigns. He knows what's to target. They work. Shut up the loser campaigns. Like
Right.
literally very little effort, right? Because we already put the effort of learning the ad side, and now we're doing all this optimization stuff. And now like we started up again, and now the ROAS has increased to like 3x. Phone sales should be starting up. So it's like constantly like doing things to improve the ROAS, and then being scaling, because then when you get a really good ROAS at low scale, you're going to increase spend. That ROAS is going to go down. We're expecting that, hey, this 3x ROAS we're getting at 450 to 500 a day spend is going to
Mm,
probably go down to like 2x ROAS when we start really spending a lot of money. And
sure.
then we got to have the downsell, we got to have the back end. And that's the stuff nobody understands. Like they're all like, oh, how do I get like an amazing ROAS with a low ticket product and no backend and no email
Right.
marketing and no nothing? Like it's like you got to build a real business and you got to build a real backend, and you can't just expect like magic by just running some ads, right? But
Yeah.
that being said, like you got to learn. I think like learning the ads is super important. And then
Right.
once you have the ads, then you add in the business stuff, then you're just unstoppable.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And that's something that I'm learning more and more as an e-commerce business owner as we go along the process. Is like not just once you have a respectable front end, completely always focus on optimization, right? You can always optimize your landing page. You can always optimize your email sequences. You can always optimize your customer service. You can always optimize your upsells, cross sells, downsells, right? To essentially create a raving fan in the process and not just get a one-time sales, set it and forget it, right? We're leaving so much on the table. It's not even funny. It's literally not even funny, the amount of money that a lot of e-commerce business owners are leaving on the table. It's absolutely ridiculous.
E-commerce and info product, right? And yeah, and I sometimes feel that people they sometimes get lucky and get into a good niche, and then they like kind of coast off it for a while.
Sure.
But really, like the big thing is you gotta, at a certain point, you just gotta be like, yep, I'm running a business. I gotta learn how to, like do all these business things. Like I gotta, cash flow, accounting, finance, delegation, hiring, operations, systems. And that's where one thing, like I feel very lucky because like I kind of started with the freelance / agency route, and then like to scale an agency, it's a hard thing to do. Like scaling an agency it's so hard because it's like there's so much human elements to it. But then like when you actually scale an agency, you like learn all this stuff, and then when you're like scaling like an info product, then you're like, okay, this is a lot easier because like I need a student specialist, bam, like that. While I have friends who like have a certain buddy who remains nameless, and he's been struggling for months to hire like one assistant, right? Just because of the fact that he's like, man, I don't know how to do this. Like I've my amazing, like he had, like he has this e-com business and it's just like pretty passive. So he's like, he didn't really get through that struggle of like having to figure out like all these pieces. So the faster that, as an e-com brand or an info product owner, you can like really start like figuring out these tough problems and really try to like push things with that. That's where I think the huge potential is, right?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more, brother. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what's next for your business now that, the creatives are a huge thing, right? So
100%. So certainly what's next that I have on offer is creatives, right? Getting professional agencies, people on Fiverr all across the internet, sending my products to them so they can shoot professional videos, so I can continuously make sure I have new creatives on offer. That's definitely another thing that I learned in your course, is that certainly advertisement fatigue is a thing. It is a thing.
Yeah.
And if your advertisements or creatives are no longer as effective as they once were, it doesn't mean that the product or the offer is dying out necessarily. It could just mean that, hey, you just need to add more creatives to the mix. And that's certainly something that's had my campaign seen second, third wins over the course of this Google Ads these campaigns so far, right? So that's another thing, right? I'm hiring project managers. I'm hiring media buyers to help train them what I learned through YouTube, right? So I can actively be out of the structural organizational growth, right? I'm bringing in graphic designers. I have a copywriter that I just brought in, right? So my goal right now is to build structural organizational growth, where when it comes to the offensive parts of the business, scaling, product launching, I don't have to actively be a part of that, right? I can manage that, right? Those are my two biggest things right now. And also I'm going to be partnering with an email marketing expert to really help me optimize my back-end email offers, because I know that has a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as of right now, at least this quarter.
Yeah, email marketing is so huge. It's such a big part of it. We try to refer all our clients to like an email marketing agency, because we're just like, you got to get that extra 10 to 20% revenue, because if you don't, like, it kills the ads, right? Like if you're getting,
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, got. So yeah, if you're getting like, let's say email marketing, right? You increase the amount of revenue by like, 15% from email marketing. If you're getting like, let's say a 30% margin without that, now your margin's just gone up, like, that extra 15% is just way more profitable, right? Because you don't have any ad costs, right? Like it's just like, in your profit margin probably increased by like 25 to 30%, while people are like, 15% revenue doesn't sound that high. But when that's coming as like a profit center, where like the only cost is product cost, then it's like a huge part of it, right? Email's like where you make a lot of your profit margins with a product like this, or like any e-com brand. Cool. So that's a great thing. Like that's a great basically explanation of what you're working on. So one last question I had is, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence of joining like the YouTube Ads course? The Linx Expert YouTube Ads program is what we're calling it.
Yeah, 100%. I'd say if they're on the fence, I'll just ask them if they want to succeed, like how bad you want to succeed, right? If they really want it, then I would tell them if they're looking at if they're looking on going on YouTube University, my goodness, it could take a long time to get all the accurate pieces of information that they need in order to structure a successful multi-million dollar, multi-six-figure at least YouTube's campaign, right? But if they're on the fence on your course, let's say, I would say don't necessarily look at the cost, but look at the value. How much is this worth to you to master this YouTube, Google Ads? Like, how much is that worth to you once you hit your winning product or once you hit your successful career? Is that worth tens of thousands? Is that worth hundreds of thousands? Is it worth millions over the next year, 2, 5, 10 years? I would ask them to look at the value. How much would that be worth? And then that should be able to answer the question for them. I'll tell them if they're asking me, I would say definite yes, like no question. I believe that you are so far have the most comprehensive YouTube course on offer, straight up. And this is after, since I've hit a certain amount of ad spend, I have a personal Google Ads rep, and I also have access to some beta, like Google Ads products that other people don't have yet. They do not have anything on what your course has on offer. I would even say like Google Ads reps are like, they're nice to have in the background, but don't give me like active advertising like advice. They literally work in Google and YouTube, and they honestly do not yet have the type of knowledge that you guys have based off of the results that I have, not just based off what I think I'm hearing. Because what your ads courses will tell me and what the Google Ads course will tell me, I'm implementing both. I'm not just going to say like, oh, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense and not implement anything. I'm implementing it all. Then I see the results afterwards. What your course has on offer and what your team has on offer is a lot more valuable than the average high-end Google rep. Yes.
I appreciate that. And I mean, yeah, the Google reps, they give you great advice sometimes they don't. You have to take it with a grain of salt, but we're kind of like, we give bad, like if we don't get results, our clients fire us pretty fast, like it's like, it's not like Google where it's like, like they're incentivized by how much they get you to spend. So it's not like exactly the clearest kind of correlation between results and the advice they give you. While with us, it's like, we pretty much have to get results. And if you don't, then it's like, but yeah, so I really appreciate you jumping on this call. I mean, YouTube has been a huge game changer for me and my life as well. Like our agency as well, just based on servicing YouTube ads is like, it's a 7-figure agency, right? So,
Right.
And I mean, like, then you take into account like our clients and so on, and YouTube has been just huge revenue bringer for us and our clients. And yeah, man, like I appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck in scaling. This sounds really exciting. I'm really excited to see where you're at in like 12 months time, because I think you're just gonna be at a point where you're like at $1 million a month. Yeah, so I appreciate you jumping on this call.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, based off of the course that you guys offer, I can honestly say that, yeah, I'm not even at maturation phase. I'm still in growth phase. So thank you so much for what you guys have on offer. And I'm going to continue to implement. I'll keep you posted.
Cheers.